The Indiana Hoosiers get their best win so far, taking down the Ohio State Buckeyes.
You are Locked On Hoosiers, your daily podcast on the Indiana Hoosiers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome in. It is the Locked On Hoosiers podcast. I'm your man, Jacob Goins. I appreciate you making Locked On Hoosiers your first listen each and every day. And you're probably feeling a little bit better this day than you have been in the past. Indiana basketball, the men take down the Ohio State Buckeyes 71-65 inside of Assembly Hall. And you better believe we're going to talk all about it here on this bonus episode of Locked On Hoosiers. I do appreciate you making this your first listen each and every day. We are a part of the Locked On Podcast Network, which is your team every day. Today's bonus episode of Locked On Hoosiers is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 moneyline bet. That's $150 if your team wins. Visit FanDuel.com/LockedOn to get started. By far, the best win of the season for this Indiana men's basketball team. They host the Ohio State Buckeyes. They take down the Ohio State Buckeyes at home and bounce back from a horrible performance in the midweek. Indiana wins 71-65. We're going to talk about the stats from this game. We're going to talk about likes and dislikes like we do every single time in a reaction pre or a post-game show, and then kind of look ahead for you here in this episode, looking into next week for Indiana basketball. But man, what a win for Indiana, man. It feels so good to go into a game that you were not supposed to win, go into a game that many people did not pick you to win, and yet you win the thing anyways. And they earned this win. This was a 40-minute basketball game for Indiana that they had to play out the entire way. And I thought there at the end they were going to try and give it up, but we have some things to talk about there because I think it says something that they were able to hold on. Indiana wins 71-65. They improve to 11-4 on the season overall. They also become 3-1 in conference play, something that not many teams can say, folks. I'm just going to go ahead and tell you, 3-1 in conference play is really, really big. Let's look at some of the stats here. And the team comparison is what we'll get to in a little bit. A lot of likes and dislikes in those categories. But just looking at the individuals for Indiana, hey, where are all my Xavier Johnson haters at? Where are y'all at? Because I've been seeing you in the comments. I've been seeing you on social media. I've been hearing you. Don't you worry. I've been hearing all the Xavier Johnson haters. Well, guess what? In his second game back, all he did was drop 18 points, go 4 of 9 from the field, 2 of 2 from the three-point line, 8 of 11 from the free throw line, 3 rebounds, 3 assists in 34 minutes played. That's it. That's all he did. He may or may not have been one of the main reasons you won this basketball game. But for those of you that want to hate on the 6-year guard, that's fine. In all seriousness, he played a really good game. He did. He played one of the better games that we've seen him play in a long, long time. And this wasn't expected from him, right? This was not expected from Xavier Johnson in his second game back after not playing for so long with the injury. But you don't win this game against Ohio State without Xavier Johnson. You just don't. You don't win this game with Gabe Cupps playing point guard. I'm sorry. You don't. You don't play this game with him as your starting point guard. Xavier Johnson looked like the Xavier Johnson of old in this game against Ohio State. And man, it was so good to see. It's so good to see because you can tell how much he loves basketball, how much he loves Indiana. And when he's playing up to his potential, how much Indiana fans love him. And he was a major reason that you won this game tonight. He had 18 points in 34 minutes. Khalil Ware kind of had a slower night in Khalil Ware standards, right? 8 points on 4 of 9 shooting, 6 rebounds in 31 minutes played. Nothing too crazy for a Khalil Ware that is normally a walking double-double. Didn't get double digits in anything tonight besides his minutes played. Malik Reneau was your leading scorer once again. 23 points, 10 of 16 from the floor, 1 of 2 from deep, made both of his free throws from the charity stripe, 7 rebounds, 1 assist in 37 minutes played. Malik Reneau I mean, he's proven time and time again he has that ability. I mean, the last couple of weeks have been the Malik Reneau show. And credit to Mike Woodson and the coaching staff. I know we may not do that a ton on this program sometimes, but give them credit. They understood what they had. Malik Reneau was it in this game. Like he was doing everything right, and Ohio State had no answer. Ohio State could not stop Malik Reneau, and so they kept going back to him and back to him and back to him. Now, we have seen teams in the past, I look at Nebraska, who have just packed the paint because they did have a little bit of size and forced Indiana to beat you in other ways. But Ohio State couldn't do that. And give credit to Malik Reneau as well. He was able to facilitate a little bit in there. And I think what helped him is having a true point guard run the show. I think that helped him 1,000%. And that is, of course, Xavier Johnson. So that was a wonderful two-man game. He had a couple of alley-oops tonight as well, did Malik Reneau. Nobody else really did anything in this game. It was pretty much the Malik Reneau and Xavier Johnson show. Mackenzie Mbako had 5 points. Trey Galloway had 4. Gabe Cupps played a little bit. He only played 4 minutes, didn't score. Anthony Walker had 1. Caleb Banks had 2. And CJ Gunn. Got to mention CJ Gunn. Wasn't it so good to see him finally get some confidence a little bit? He was the only other Hoosier outside of Johnson and Malik Reneau in double digits. CJ Gunn looked smooth shooting the basketball. And I've said this before on this program, confidence is a dangerous drug. Confidence in a shooter and a basketball player is a dangerous, dangerous thing to have. And CJ Gunn finally had it. And I'm so glad he got to play that way in front of the home fans. The last time he had a good game was on the road at Michigan, which seemed to be forever ago. He got to do it in front of the fans at Assembly Hall. 10 points, 4 of 7 shooting, 1 of 2 from downtown. Almost hit the other one. I thought it was in, but it popped out. 1 of 1 at the line. Did have a foul in 24 minutes played. That's the backup guard play we're looking for. That is the guard play off the bench Indiana has to have. Gabe Cupps only played 4 minutes, whatever. But CJ Gunn being able to come in and be effective with the basketball in his hands, that is what makes Indiana a good basketball team. That's what makes any good basketball team. I loved the individual effort, the fight from this Indiana team. They did not give up. They very well could have, especially in the second half when Ohio State went on a little bit of a run to start the second half. What was it, 8-10-0 run to start the second 20 minutes? Indiana could have folded like a lawn chair like they have in the past, but they didn't. They didn't do that. And then they held Ohio State bucketless. I don't think it was scoreless. It was bucketless for like 6 or 7 minutes in a row. And Indiana didn't make a whole lot of progress there. But they kept fighting. They kept working. We're going to get into a lot of the team stats coming up in likes and dislikes. But this Indiana team earned this win over Ohio State. And it is by far the best win of the year for this Indiana team. They take down Ohio State 71-65 on a Saturday night inside of Assembly Hall. And coming up here on Locked On Hoosiers, we'll talk about likes and dislikes. We're going to get to some of those whopping team comparison stats when it comes to shooting numbers, rebounding numbers, and the turnover numbers. That's all coming up here on this bonus episode of Locked On Hoosiers. Today's bonus episode of Locked On Hoosiers is brought to you by FanDuel. The NFL regular season is wrapping up, but there's still time to get in on the action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place a $5 bet. That's $150 in bonus bets, win or lose, right? They were doing one if you win. Now it's win or lose. If you bet $5, you get $150. That's a no-brainer. The app is easy to use, and there are so many different ways to bet, like same-game parlays, find bets in the new Explore tab. You can make a parlay in the Parlay Hub, the best way to find popular parlays, and much more. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and make your first bet a layup. FanDuel, official partner of the NFL. Today's episode of Locked On Hoosiers here on the Locked On Podcast Network. Of course, we are your first listen each and every day, and we appreciate you making that so. Today's episode is also brought to you by Gametime. look, you shouldn't have to worry about buying tickets when you're going to your next sporting event, whether you're going to a comedy show, theater, whatever you're going to. You shouldn't have to worry about buying legitimate tickets, good tickets, all that type of stuff. And with Gametime, you don't have to. Gametime is the fast and easy way to buy tickets for all the sports, music, comedy, and theater events near you. My favorite part about Gametime, I talk about this just about every time we have them on. It's easy to find and buy tickets for every kind of event. You get the views from your seats in every single venue, no matter where it is, what venue, what seat it is. You can see what your view will be before you buy the ticket. I mean, that's just incredible that they're able to do that. You can see the view from your seat before you buy, so you know exactly what to expect when you arrive. All-in prices show your total upfront, so you know you're getting a great deal before you check out. You can buy tickets in seconds with literally just 2 taps. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDON for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDON. That's LOCKEDON for $20 off. Download Gametime today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. Welcome back into today's episode of Locked On Hoosiers, the bonus episode, a reaction episode, a winner episode of Locked On Hoosiers as your Indiana basketball team defeats Ohio State 71-65. I appreciate you being an everydayer. If you're not already subscribed to the YouTube channel, please do that. Helps us out tremendously. It is completely free. And hey, applaud to you, the listener, the fan base, the family we're created here. We're over 1,600 subscribers now on YouTube. So thank you so much for that. If you're not already, please become one. It's free. You don't have to do anything else. Just hit the button. It really does help us out. If you're on YouTube, you can like the video as well. If you're on any of your audio platforms, be sure that you subscribe on there and turn on notifications so you know when we have special episodes, just like this one, this bonus episode of Locked On Hoosiers. Indiana defeats Ohio State 71-65. We do this every time. Let's do some likes and dislikes from this game. And I'm going to the team stats here. I kind of went over the player stats already. We're going to get to some individual performance stuff in likes and dislikes here. But I want to look at the team stats and comparing the team stats here in likes and dislikes. Here's something I love. Indiana shot 47% from the field as a team. That's pretty darn good, especially for this Indiana team. Now, I know what a lot of you will say, well, they shoot a lot of their shots inside. Shouldn't they have a high percentage? Sure. But they also shot 12 threes. And guess what? They made 5 of them. That's good for 42%. That's really stinking good for this Indiana team compared to Ohio State, who shot 26% from downtown, 7 of 27. That's a lot of threes. And they shot 36% from the floor, 25 of 69. Something I dislike here, Ohio State got 11 more shots off than you. How did they do that, you ask? Oh, well, it's pretty simple. Here's the biggest dislike of the game, when you get out-rebounded on the offensive boards 22-7. You gave up in total rebounds. You get out-rebounded 49-27. What are we doing? 49-27 is the rebounding differential, the rebounding comparison between Ohio State and Indiana. How the hell did we win this game? I don't know. If you had told me, hey, Indiana's going to get out rebounded 49-27. They're going to give up 22 offensive rebounds and 24 second chance points. Yeah, I would have said Ohio State would have ran us out of the gym, out of our own gym on a Saturday night. But that didn't happen. Indiana, again, gets out rebounded 49-27. Defensive was 27-20, but those offensive rebounds were killer, man. 22 offensive rebounds and 24 second chance points. Here's the thing, though. I think it could have been more. I think it could have been way more for Ohio State. How many times did they have 2, 3, 4 opportunities and come up empty on a possession? While Indiana may have given up a lot of offensive boards, I think they stayed locked in. They stayed focused on the defensive side. It's very easy for teams when they defend well on a possession, they give up a shot, right? They give up the offensive rebound. It's very easy at that point right there to kind of back off and kind of give up on the play and say, oh, well, they got the offensive rebound. They scored. Oh, well, let's run down the other end. I feel like Indiana did a good job of not doing that in this game, and they defended those second, third, and fourth opportunities. They still scored, obviously. Ohio State, again, with the 24 second chance points, but Indiana didn't give up on those plays, and a lot of them were just bad bounces. Some of them were effort. I'll say that. Some of them were effort plays for Ohio State and a little bit of wanting it more, but Indiana never gave up, and I think that's something that's really, really important. So I very much dislike the offensive rebounding numbers for Ohio State. I like the three-point shooting numbers for Indiana. The free throw numbers were fine. You look at Ohio State's percentage, you're like, oh, wow, 89%. They only shot it 9 times. They only went there 8 of 9 times. So the fouling-wise, love that. Love that for Indiana. You go 12 of 16 from the free throw line. That's 75%. That's pretty good as a team. We'll take that. And, hey, one of those misses, shout out to Xavier Johnson. We got to show him. We got to shout him out a little bit. How about the one of those was an air ball, and he laughed himself off about it. That was pretty good. You look at some more. You look at the bench points, 22-13 in favor of Ohio State. Points in the paint. This is what Indiana does, man. They scored 71 overall. 40 were in the paint. We know that's what Indiana likes to do. Here's my favorite thing. My favorite stat of the night. My biggest like and biggest takeaway and biggest factor in this basketball game, the biggest reason Indiana won. We're asking ourselves how they do it. This is how they did it. Your turnover margin, your turnover differential. Ohio State had 14 turnovers on the road in the Big Ten. We know how hard it is to win on the road in this conference. They had 14 turnovers. Indiana had 4. Indiana, for a 40-minute basketball game, a team that turns the ball over like freaking crazy most of the time, they turned it over 4 times tonight at home. That's insane. That's incredible. Indiana averages almost 13 turnovers a game, and they only turned it over 4 times. I don't care that you're at home. Go play 40 minutes of basketball with 5-on-5 and see how many times a team turns it over. It's pretty rare for it to only be 4. That's where the game was won. That's where the game was won. In Indiana, here's the difference, okay? Ohio State may have destroyed you on second chance points 24-9, but Indiana gave it right back to Ohio State with points off turnovers 22-5. You outscored them 17 points in points off turnovers. They outscored you by 19 in second chance points. Borderline a wash. That number is definitely not right. By 13. So there you go. It's a wash. You win. You won the battle. So they had all the second chance points, but you had the points off turnovers. So it canceled out. You actually had a couple of more over them, and that's how Indiana won this basketball game. It's wild what happens when this team shoots well, runs the offense well, doesn't foul, hits their shots, and doesn't turn the ball over. Isn't it crazy when they defend and they hold a team to 65 points? Isn't it wild what happens when they do the things they're supposed to do? Yeah, this team wins basketball games. They are a good team. But the biggest issue is we haven't seen this. We haven't seen this. And this was not a perfect game by any means, right? This was not a perfect game in any shape or form. But it's one of the better ones we've seen. It's one of the better games I've seen them play outside of the Kansas game. I mean, I think, and that was not even a team effort. That was Trey Galloway just going off. I think this was one of the best performances we've seen. And Indiana deserves a lot of credit. Now, there's so much more to talk about here. There is. The end of the first half, game management with the fouls, horrific, horrible. We'll talk about that as the week goes on. There's other things here that we got to talk about. Trey Galloway having what? 4 points? Come on, dude. We got to have better than that. I'd like to see your bench, other than CJ Gunn, have more points. Caleb Banks, Anthony Walker, Gabe Cupps. Got to get some more from those guys. Mackenzie Mbako, got to be smarter as a basketball player, right? All those things still need to be talked about. But we've got all of next week for that. Let's celebrate. Let's take this in and let's enjoy it as Indiana gets a big win over Ohio State, the biggest win of the year, 71-65 on your home floor, and you send the fans home happy. And guess what? I said this in the preview episode. The Hoosiers have revived this fan base a little bit with this win. Now you've got to continue it on. Now you have to continue to play like this. And you look at what's coming up for Indiana really quickly as we wrap up here. You have Rutgers at home on Tuesday, Minnesota at home on Friday, before you welcome in the number one team in the country, the Purdue Boilermakers, on Tuesday, January 16th. You have a chance to be on a roll when Purdue comes into town. That's a good Rutgers team. You're on the road. It's hard to win in this conference on the road. And then you're home versus Minnesota. You have a chance to do something special here if you're Indiana. Let's enjoy this one. And as the week gets here, we'll begin to preview that. We'll begin to look ahead for this Indiana basketball team. They defeat Ohio State 71-65. I appreciate you making Locked On Hoosiers your first listen each and every day. Comment down below. Send us a post, a tweet, whatever you want to call it, on X, Twitter, again, whatever you want to call it. You can follow us there at Locked On Hoosiers. I appreciate you being here. Enjoy this win, Hoosier fans. Enjoy it because this is a big one. That's a good Ohio State team, okay? That's a good Ohio State team that is going to be in the NCAA tournament. And the Hoosiers just proved that they can beat NCAA tournament teams. They've got to carry that on moving forward. Like the video, subscribe to the channel on YouTube, turn on notifications wherever you get your podcast. We are free and available wherever you get your podcast. And hey, we'll be back on Monday. We'll talk about this game. We'll be previewing some Rutgers stuff and moving forward after this game as well. Should be a lot of fun. And so, as always, Hoosier fans, until next time, stay safe, and I'll talk to you later.